Now it's 7. A prayer service in Marin County tonight where the community is still holding out hope for a Kentfield family missing in the Texas floods will be found alive. Also, new details revealed about the killing of a Morgan Hill teen as the suspect, her boyfriend, made his first court appearance today.
He's possessive over everything he can get his hands on, especially when it came to Marissa.
The red flags prior to her death that had friends and family concerned. And Governor Newsom charming voters.
We were going to have a cup of coffee, Madam Mayor.
And it was just like, I knew him for like 10 years.
Not in California, but in South Carolina, his visit sparking off another round of speculation about a potential presidential run.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. Friends and family said she was someone who would light up the room. Heavy hearts tonight in Morgan Hill as the community remembers 18-year-old Marissa DiNapoli. She was found dead last week after being missing for several days. And tonight, people are coming together to try to process the loss at the Morgan Hill Community Cultural Center. A grieving and healing circle just started about an hour ago. Marissa's boyfriend, 20-year-old Martin Mendoza Jr., made his first court appearance today after being arrested at the U.S.-Mexico border on Sunday. Arlen Ramirez was at the courthouse in San Jose where investigators revealed new information about this case.
Well, more than a dozen friends and family members of the victim, Marissa DiNapoli, showed up here at the Hall of Justice in San Jose for the arraignment, but it was just a very brief court appearance by Martin Mendoza, Marissa's boyfriend, who's accused of killing her.
Knowing that all people are here for him, if he cannot face that after running and just step out in front
Friends of Marissa DiNapoli were frustrated that the man they came to see face justice, 21-year-old Martin Mendoza, stayed in the jail hallway and didn't enter the courtroom to be formally accused of murdering her.
I think he's scared, and I think he doesn't want to come to terms with what he did.
It was June 29th when Marissa and Martin were captured on surveillance video leaving Martin's Morgan Hill home. Prosecutors say Marissa had only minutes to live. Cell phone pings placed both of them at Anderson Lake, where her body was later found with 5 stab wounds in the back. Cell phone video showed only Martin's phone leaving the area, and police say Martin's car was recorded crossing the Mexican border on July 1st. But prosecutors say he didn't stay there long.
He returned a short time later through a different entrance, without a car, without a phone, and simply walked back over into this country. By this point, because of the quick work of the Morgan Hill Police Department, there was a warrant for his arrest. And so when he walked back into this country, he was immediately arrested.
The district attorney called it a case of domestic violence. Friends say the two had an intense and rocky relationship, but Marissa was trying to leave.
2 years ago, I told her, he's gonna kill you. 2 years I tried to tell her, he's gonna kill you, and that same day I told her father that she was still seeing him. She ended up kind of breaking our friendship a bit because she was so in love with him. She was so sure about him that it wouldn't happen. And 2 years later, I get a call that she is missing and then found dead.
Marissa's sister says she was the youngest of 8 siblings and was loved and supported by her family, who now hope justice is served quickly.
Let's not let this case get swept under the rug, because we know that, things sometimes take a lot of time to finish, but this is something that we don't want to take forever. We want change, and we want it now. Our sister deserves her justice.
Martin Mendoza will be back in court on September 9th to enter a plea. He's currently being held with no bail.
If you or someone you know needs help, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. You can call them at 1-800-799-SAFE or text START to 88788. You can also talk with someone at thehotline.org. On to search and rescue teams from Oakland and Menlo Park. They are among those who've been deployed to help in the aftermath of the devastating 4th of July floods in Texas. They'll be combing through miles and miles of debris. At least 110 people are now confirmed dead, including 30 children in Kerr County, home to Camp Mystic and other summer camps along the Guadalupe River. Early Friday morning, the river rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. There have been questions about whether people received adequate warning, but authorities said their main focus right now is finding the missing. More than 160 people still unaccounted for, a number which significantly jumped from yesterday after officials had set up a hotline for families to call. Among them, the Walker family from Marin County. They had been vacationing at their home along the river. Tonight, family and friends are holding a vigil for their safe return. Suji Nam has more from Kentfield.
The prayer service for the Walker family has been going on for about an hour now here at Marin Catholic High School. Dozens of families have gathered to show their support for the Walker family who went missing after the devastating floods in central Texas Friday. Mark, his wife Sarah, and their 14-year-old son Johnny, who are from Kentfield, were staying at a house along the Guadalupe River. Reports have shown the couple's daughter was rescued at summer camp there and is safe. We have learned that she attends Marin Catholic High School and her brother is an incoming freshman. Johnny also played baseball for Ross Valley Little League, where his dad Mark was a coach. Mark is the brother of former Giants pitcher Tyler Walker. The school has asked media to not be inside the chapel out of respect for the Walker family, so we are out here tonight as the community hopes for better news soon. Back to you.
Suji, thank you. If you would like to help the victims in Texas, you can make a donation by scanning the QR code that's on your screen. It will take you to a list of organizations helping with disaster relief. On to an update on a brush fire that was moving towards buildings on Tesla Road and east of Livermore. So this is south of 580 near the Poppy Ridge Golf Course. CAL FIRE now says forward progress has been stopped at 14 acres. The fire is now 75% contained with no structures damaged. Multiple law enforcement agencies raided a home in San Francisco's inner Richmond district today in connection with the deadly fireworks explosion in Yolo County. The address of the home is connected to Devastating Pyrotechnics. It is the company that had been operating the warehouse that exploded Tuesday in Esparto. Yolo County Sheriff's deputies were on scene with assistance from SFPD and the Sacramento County Sheriff's Bomb Squad. Neighbors were surprised by the raid.
The crime investigators were here and taking a good look at things, and they've been here for 3 or 4 hours. This is a very quiet neighborhood, as you know, so this is a big surprise. Kind of the biggest thing that's happened on 2nd Avenue in a long time.
The attorney for the owner and CEO of Devastating Pyrotechnics says his client is innocent of any wrongdoing in connection to the Yolo County warehouse fire. CAL FIRE is leading this investigation and says as of right now, no one is facing charges. Governor Newsom was out speaking to voters today, not in California, but in South Carolina. His visit sparking more chatter of a possible presidential run. Steve Large has more on what he was doing and how he was received.
We were going to have a cup of coffee, Madam Mayor. That's what you promised.
Governor Gavin Newsom engaging voters and posing for pictures inside this coffee shop, not in California, but thousands of miles away in South Carolina.
It's true, I come from a small little isolated state out there in the West.
And when he come in, it was just like, I knew him for like 10 years.
Andrina Mullins is the owner of Lil Jazzy's Cafe in Florence, South Carolina, and hosted this Newsom visit. The business owner, who says she's politically neutral, also sees a country in need of change. What kinds of things are on your mind as a business owner about what you feel the country needs?
I'm going to top it off with one word. We need love.
Newsom did not feel the love of all South Carolinians. Republican Attorney General Alan Wilson, who is running for governor, issued a statement reading in part, "We don't need Gavin Newsom's twisted version of America in the Palmetto State." In your view, why South Carolina for this visit?
Simple math. It's probably going to be the first state to cast votes for the Democratic presidential candidate next time around.
Democratic strategist Steve Maviglio, who's often a critic of Newsom, says Newsom is starting an early ground game in the important primary state.
I grew up in a place called Dutch Flat, California.
Newsom described growing up in rural Placer County to these South Carolina voters.
At night. Placer County, California. It's about the reddest county in America.
He's trying to distance himself from his San Francisco roots, because having that label around you makes you seem like an extreme liberal, and that doesn't bode well for his future political aspirations.
I'm just happy to have a governor here.
Gavin Newsom's next political move. Is this the prelude to a presidential campaign?
I'm deeply humbled.
Next, a big legal victory in the case of a local woman who was taken into custody by ICE, and it could set a precedent in similar cases. And a stinky situation, why trash isn't being picked up in several Bay Area cities.
Temperatures today were about 5 to 10 degrees below normal for July. Inland temperatures only reached up into the 70s as opposed to the 80s or 90s, but we have 80s and 90s back in the forecast already tomorrow. Details on a late week heat wave coming up in First Alert Weather.
A federal judge has issued an emergency ruling ordering the release of a Bay Area woman who was recently arrested after an immigration hearing in San Francisco. John Ramis spoke to the attorney who won her freedom.
The case involves a Peruvian woman who was arrested just as she left San Francisco Immigration Court. Now a district court judge has ruled that that never should have happened. On July 4th, when President Trump was celebrating the passage of his budget bill, there was another celebration going on in the Oakland offices of Centro Legal de la Raza. A district court judge had just issued an order demanding that ICE release Frecia Pinchi from custody.
It to me feels very symbolic that temporary restraining order issued the night of 4th of July while fireworks are exploding in the sky.
Abby Sullivan was the attorney for Pinchi, a Peruvian native who presented herself in the United States for asylum in 2023. But on July 3rd, she was grabbed by ICE agents as she left her hearing at the San Francisco Immigration Court. According to the ruling, agents had no warrant and communicated no reason for her arrest. It's not an unusual occurrence. The same thing happened this morning as protesters were gathering outside.
ICE has new directives to arrest 3,000 people every day. They are desperate to fulfill these totally reckless and arbitrary metrics. So one place they know they will encounter a lot of people that they could potentially arrest is the immigration courts.
But Pinchi was lucky. She had a rapid response team at her side, and they were able to contact Sullivan in time to file an emergency appeal to the district court. Judge Rita Lynn ruled that Pinchi was not a flight risk or threat to the community, and ruled that she be released and not be rearrested until she had a proper court hearing before a neutral decision maker.
This is a first in the Northern District of California under this initiative where ICE is arresting people in immigration court. The judge's order speaks for itself. This is a very clear violation of her constitutional rights, and she is released now unless the government can prove that there is a basis to detain her, which there simply isn't.
It could set a precedent about not arresting people at immigration hearings, but Sullivan isn't confident that will settle the matter.
Under any other president, I would have said when a judge tells you that what you're doing is illegal, the government entity is going to stop doing that because they know they're breaking the law. They're going to have a lot of liability issues. This administration appears to believe it's above the law. So I can't predict whether they're going to continue these arrests or not.
Another hearing is scheduled for Monday, at which the government will have to prove that there is reason for detaining Pinchi. If they can't, the temporary restraining order becomes permanent.
Miss Pinchi has been released and is back with her family. All right, trash pickups were delayed for tens of thousands of families in the Bay Area today, all because of a sanitation strike in Stockton. Workers for Republic Services, they walked off the job there, and while employees at Bay Area facilities aren't directly involved, they refuse to cross the picket line, impacting trash service in San Jose, Daly City, Richmond, and more. Protesters gathered outside of the Republic Services truck yard in Fremont, holding signs that included one saying, "Hold your nose." Similar trash strikes are happening around the country as workers fight for higher wages, notably against Republic Services in the Boston area. A representative from the Teamsters Union says they are not backing down.
Anytime you pick a fight with one Teamster, you pick a fight with 1.3 million Teamsters. So, and I think Republic is finding that out the hard way.
Republic Services released a statement saying that they anticipate temporary service delays while they are in contract negotiations and are adjusting their operations so they can continue to provide service. All right, let's get to our forecast now to find out where we have our highs and our lows and our fog and our sun, because it's everywhere.
We'll talk about all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and just in time for maybe trash service to be delayed and for that stuff to sit on the curb a little bit longer.
Oh, in certain areas, yeah, it might kind of get a little fresh.
It's going to get hot. It'll be, fragrant.
ripe.
So if you missed out on the corpse flower, then you may just have a funk of your own in the neighborhood. Let's take a look
funky.
at what's happening in the big picture pattern here with a look at today's temperature pattern across the entire state. And it was warm inland, but no extreme heat. Even those hottest places farther to the south, not bad for this time of year. But let's jump to Thursday's temperature pattern, and you see all the purple expand to the Central Valley. Triple-digit heat back in the forecast there. Some of the hottest temperatures far inland of the Bay Area may approach 100 degrees, but while it's going to get hotter, our temperatures aren't going to qualify as extreme heat anytime soon. So we are going to be seeing just kind of a noticeable warming trend that isn't going to last too long, and it's not anticipated to cause any major problems for us as we hit Thursday and Friday. But in the short term, well, this is the lack of a view from Salesforce Tower. We were looking at the Bay Bridge here just a couple of minutes ago. Now it's been obscured. Temperature downtown is down to the upper 50s, low 60s across the Bay in Oakland. Inland, right around 70 degrees. Sun doesn't even go down for another hour and 15 minutes, and we're already backing down very rapidly. Temperatures will continue to drop down to the 50s later on tonight, which is normal for this time of year, and that fog will continue to make a push across the bay and well into the inland valleys. But really, it's going to be more low cloud cover as opposed to that fog really reducing visibilities. The base of the clouds remaining just a little bit above ground level, but it's going to be widespread to begin the day on Wednesday. Doesn't last very long inland, which is why temperatures are going to warm up pretty quickly. The fog retreats to the coast by midday. It does not pull away from the coast, though, in all likelihood. We did see a little bit of clearing at the coast today. I don't think you're going to see that tomorrow. Now, inland, where the temperatures are going to respond to that additional sunshine, we're going to return to basically where we're supposed to be in early July. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s in the Santa Clara Valley, all the way up to the upper 80s in Morgan Hill. Mostly 80s east of the Oakland Hills. Some of the hot spots, Fairfield, Antioch, and Brentwood, getting up to around, maybe even above 90 degrees. 60s in San Francisco, otherwise 70s around the bay, including mid-70s down the peninsula. Low 60s along the coast, and temperatures in the North Bay go from the 70s to the 80s in Santa Rosa to around 90 degrees in Healdsburg, and you'll be one of the spots at least flirting with triple-digit territory later on this week. The winds are going to have something to do with how the temperatures behave. The winds are going to be still onshore, so we don't lose that onshore influence. It's why bayside and coastal temperatures aren't going to jump up that much, if at all. But the winds are not going to be as strong. The strongest gusts around 25 miles an hour during the afternoon, mainly closer to the water, and those strongest gusts are not going to last too long. So you see the big jump in inland temperatures from 86 in Livermore tomorrow to 96 by Thursday and Friday, but it doesn't last long. We drop back to within 5 degrees of average over the weekend and through the first half of next week. And even the hottest days, Thursday and Friday, we'll use Thursday as an example, we are unlikely to even approach record territory around the bay, and even farther inland, those records are going to be a good 10 to 20 degrees out of reach on Thursday. So we'll keep you updated as the heat builds. Always want to take it easy when we do get some hotter temperatures, but they just don't last more than about 48 hours. 90s for a couple of days, and then back to the 80s on an average basis for inland parts of the Bay Area. And temperatures bayside and at the coast, they don't increase very much at all. We go up to the mid, maybe upper 70s around the bay. There will be some 80s down the peninsula, with temperatures retreating back to the lower half of the 70s as we head through most of next week. And at the coast, while you're going to see some sunshine peeking through, the weight of the atmosphere on top of us helping to compress the air at ground level and produce that inland heat, well, it's just going to squish the marine layer and result in some pretty dense fog at the coast over the course of the next several days. And that will keep a solid lid on your temperatures. Jules?
All right, Paul, thank you. Hey, security at airports could get a little faster. That's because the specific screening that's going away involves you. We'll tell you about it. Hey, you can now keep your shoes on while going through security at U.S. airports. Yes, Homeland Security announcing that today. It's ending the nearly 20-year-old policy. The change officially happening today at SFO and will roll out soon across all U.S. airports. Officials say this comes as security technology has drastically improved over the years. So do travelers like the change? They better.
I think it's great, especially when I have my flip-flops on. My feet don't have to touch the floor.
I think it's great to speed things up.
I love it. It's less of a hassle.
Absolutely. The TSA began requiring most passengers to remove their shoes in 2006, several years after the so-called shoe bomber Richard Reed failed to detonate explosives on a transatlantic flight. All right, up next, a chance to own some priceless items owned by the late Willie Mays once. We're going to show you what's going up for auction. Giants fans, listen up. This is your chance to own memorabilia from the Say Hey kid himself, Willie Mays. Hundreds of items are going up for auction at the end of September, and they include a World Series ring, his Presidential Medal of Freedom, and even his custom 1977 hot rod. All the proceeds from the auction will go to the Say Hey Foundation. Thanks so much for watching. The news continues at 8 on Pix Plus or 44 Cable 12. See you right back here at 11 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.